Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video I'm going to be talking about Final Fantasy XIV Mobile. I actually got to play the game, figured out a way that I could get in and actually get to experience the game now that it's basically out in China. I had to make a WeChat account, I had to find the APK online, but managed to get it working. Apparently it's also in closed beta in Japan from what I'm hearing, so that Western beta might not actually be that far, but I definitely wanted to get in and get some thoughts and honestly, interact with some of the community that I don't really get to interact with. And I will say right off the bat that I'm getting a ton of friend requests and messages in the game talking to people who have enjoyed my content in China for years, and I'm really appreciative of at the very least that opportunity. So thank you to everyone who's been welcoming to me while I've been playing Final Fantasy XIV Mobile. So for this video, I wanted to give you some first impressions. There's been a lot of questions about things. I've been putting out a ton of videos about whatever news we can actually get, things about the monetization, and a list of entire changes that was posted over on Reddit, but I still needed to feel it, right? You only can read so much and really form an opinion without actually experiencing it. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on in this video, is my limited first impressions on Final Fantasy XIV Mobile as of the Chinese release. Before we get started, the sponsor of this video is Magic Spoon. They make high-protein cereal, snack bars, and granola, and we've been working with them for quite some time. It all tastes great, and honestly, it helps me when my snackometer is going off. And yeah, I get a little snacky. I've been eating their products for years now, and I get excited every time a new box pops up. This latest one came packed with some delicious treat bars and some scrumptious granola. I'm always glad to have a high-protein option around, whether it be right after I get back from the gym, or honestly, sometimes I just want to avoid traditional snacks. If you'd like to try Magic Spoon while also supporting the channel, then click the link below to get some today. Build your own custom box of products with tons of available flavors to match your daily needs. Best of all, use my link and discount code Mr. Happy to get $5 off of your box. You can also buy it at your local grocery store, even on Amazon if you prefer. And if you don't like it, Magic Spoon has a 100% happiness guarantee. Let them know and they'll refund you, no questions asked. So click the link below or scan the QR code on the screen and use code Mr. Happy to get $5 off, or go to magicspoon.com/Mr. Happy to save $5 on your order. It even works in Canada and the UK. Thanks again to Magic Spoon for sponsoring, and now back to the video. And let me tell you, it's Final Fantasy XIV on mobile. I mean, while there are a ton of changes between the way that things work in retail, especially during the A Realm Reborn era, which is when this takes place, as well from the mobile version. I mean, honestly, it's just I'm playing Final Fantasy XIV on mobile. I'm going through the A Realm Reborn MSQ. I'm doing basically most of the same quests, even if there's, different ways that the game handles cutscenes and the level that these certain things are unlocking is different. It's indistinguishable in some ways, and yet entirely distinguishable in others. I mean, the story, the music, everything you expect from A Realm Reborn and the A Realm Reborn zones, down to the types of fates that are there, the side quests, they're there. As long as they were available in A Realm Reborn proper, they're basically there. There's also some quests that weren't available until 2.1 or 2.2. The gold saucer's there, and that wasn't available till 2.5. So yeah, they've skipped ahead and added some things that people would probably like. The esthetician is also there. Challenge logs, those weren't there right in A Realm Reborn's release, but yeah, in all essence, I am playing Final Fantasy XIV. It's a Realm Reborn classic on mobile, which was kind of what we were joking it would be. Interestingly enough, even though it's the Chinese version, there are English voice acted cutscenes. You can actually choose any of the voice languages that already exist in retail in the game. Literally, you just download the voice pack from the menu and you're good. But that being said, it's not a new voice acting crew. It is literally just lifting the lines from A Realm Reborn. So it's not really that much of a surprise, but for some reason, I don't know, after hearing the trailer that when this was first announced some months ago, I thought maybe they would revoice some stuff because Minfilia sounded a lot different in the trailer. I suppose that might have just been a marketing thing, but I was actually kind of looking forward to and hoping that we would get a slightly revoiced A Realm Reborn, just to get an idea of what that would be like. I mean, maybe it will, but I don't think so. I think they're just going to pull in the A Realm Reborn voices and keep them there. As I was progressing through the story, though, there's also some other differences, not with the story, but with the way you interact with it. Whenever you're talking to an NPC, the dialogue kind of zooms in on your conversation with that NPC. Not like Elder Scrolls zooms in where it just pans over to their face, but it kind of pulls you into a separate discussion, not too dissimilar from when you get pulled into those unvoiced micro cutscenes in retail, but just kind of does that for every NPC right now. I mean, I'm neither for or against this. there is something nice about being pulled away from the hordes of players instead of, you know, right now in retail where they all kind of disappear around you since Dawn Trail, if you even have that feature enabled. You don't even have to think about it that much. Although sometimes finding the NPCs can be rough because I haven't seen a setting that lets you make other people disappear around an NPC. But you know, there's a lot of people playing right now, so sometimes I get kind of lost trying to find the NPCs in the hordes of people. As for the actual progression of the story, they do have an auto-pathing feature between like missions or quest objectives. It was definitely nice at first, just being able to click, yeah, take me to this, and then I could sit back and relax. But in some areas, the auto-pathing is absolutely horrible. So I did actually just start walking to quests myself after using the system a bit. It's nice if you maybe like need to get up and go do something, but if you're someone who's maybe like me and doesn't know how to take your foot off the gas, then you may find out that you just want to walk between the quests, and that'll be a lot faster. One thing that definitely made it feel a whole lot faster is that you actually unlock your mount and flying super early. When you're auto-pathing, it will mount you automatically. That's not how I should have said that, but it is how it is. But it'll still run there on foot. So if you have flying in an area, the speed increase of just doing it yourself is monumental. You do it 2 to 3 times faster, especially in certain areas, because it'll always kind of follow the path, like the actual like in-game like roads and walkways and stuff out in the wild. So if you know like, oh, if I just cut across here, I can just get to this NPC in like 5 seconds, it may not know that. It's going to walk all the way around if that's what the path actually wants it to do. But speaking of unlocking flying super early, you don't actually unlock it after you get through the Praetorium and Porto Decamana. You can unlock ether currents as you go, starting at like level 9 or 10. You can just collect ether currents in every individual Realm Reborn zone. Sometimes there's 4, sometimes there's up to like 8 of them. But the good news with this is that you can just unlock it as you go. So like I've already unlocked flying in a ton of zones, and I'm like level 32 or something like that. You know, I even went out of my way and grabbed flying in some zones I hadn't really progressed to yet, just to make sure that when I got there, I would have flying so it would be faster. You know, I don't know why I decided to do that. They put you on the path of most of the ether currents anyway. There's a new ether compass system that gives you like a distance from the ether current. And then when you're really close, it doesn't tell you the distance. But at that point, you can just swing the camera around and you'll usually find it in some place. The only thing that was really weird, and people have brought this up, is you can actually pay to skip gathering the ether currents. It is Final Fantasy XIV Mobile after all. And the only reason that's weird, it's not because I don't get it. Like, if you put that in retail and told people about, like, some of the old, and you, like, left the old ether currents the way that they were, I guarantee you there'd have been some people that did it. But here, they're A, really easy to find with the compass, and B, there's so few of them. Like, yeah, you do have to collect them for every individual zone, Central Thanalan, you know, Southern Thanalan, Eastern Thanalan, yeah, etc., etc. But it's so quick. Like, I don't know why you would ever bother doing this. It's one of those things where it's, like, just there for the people who are just like, you know what, no, I will not spend 5 minutes going to get all these things, and sometimes people will pay for that. So, story, music, flying around, all that stuff, great. But what about the gameplay? Because the gameplay is noticeably different through all of the teasers, all the videos that I posted. So, I've actually gotten to play it now, and I understand the way that it's kind of supposed to flow, the way that the gameplay itself actually works. It's a lot more active because you actually have an auto attack button. Now, fortunately, you could just hold the auto attack button. You don't need to press it repeatedly. Thank goodness for that. And then all of your skills just kind of sit on a cooldown. So there's no 2.5 second GCD. You just kind of use skills as they're available. It's faster and it's more active, but it's somehow also less engaging thus far. I'm playing Bard, which was given a 4 out of a 5-star difficulty rating. But realistically, I hold down the attack button and just press my other buttons as they pop up. I buff first, unload everything, and then just wait. Movement buttons used as needed, but that is how it is. Because of this, enemies and dungeons just fall over faster than they ever did in retail. I had a Sestasha run that was like 6 minutes, and there are notably some very slow parts of our progression where it probably could have been down to like 4 minutes for a Sestasha run. It's largely because all the auto attacks, at least my auto attacks on Bard, I'm not going to speak for anyone else, they were all AoE, and everyone has AoE at the early levels, and the dungeon mobs just don't have a lot of HP. Like, I could use 1 GCD and take like 40% of a dungeon mob's HP if I really wanted to. So yeah, you just kind of fold over everything up until the trials. In the trials, things last noticeably longer. the trials in the story are a lot closer to their hard or even their extreme mode counterparts. Ifrit was basically Ifrit hard mode, but at level 15, having 4 nails, having the eruptions chasing people, the different plume patterns. He had up to 3 dashes that he could do, 1, 2, or 3 dashes. So it was basically Ifrit hard mode, but at level 15. Not that that's, you know, terribly difficult, but it is a noticeable increase. And I've heard that Titan and Garuda are not too dissimilar in that they've got more mechanics, or at least they're introducing the higher level version of the mechanics at an earlier point. And quite frankly, if you put Ifrit, Garuda, and Titan in the game brand new right now and they didn't exist before, I think this is how it would go in retail also, because we're not talking about anything that's like terribly difficult to do. Dodge ground AoEs and, you know, kill some nails, and I think you can manage that. And yeah, my group did manage that. It even has the Ifrit hard mode weapons at level 15, funnily enough. So there is actually some decent reason to running those story mode trials multiple times, should you so desire a weapon or a glam over your current weapon. It's maybe there's other jobs that are more involved. Just getting back into it, because honestly, even though the trial took longer, the gameplay was still basically me just holding down one button and pressing other buttons as they became available. Retargeting was a little finicky, since you have to actually click the target on the screen. There was no like tab target equivalent, which I wouldn't expect there to be. And I just don't think it was as responsive as I would have liked when it came to selecting things like the nails or an individual target in a story mission or a fate or anything like that. But either way, maybe I need to play another job as well. Because like Monk, for example, I know they have to do like 4 of those auto attacks, and then they can unleash a stance attack, and they still need to rotate between the stance. So maybe that's a little more engaging. It's faster paced gameplay, but somehow it feels slower at the same time. I'm still growing into it. Maybe in higher end content, I'll appreciate it more. But I have most of my skills already in like the early to mid 30s. Like I have another song to get. I actually have all my roll actions at this point. I have my pitch perfect procs, and then I don't really have a whole lot that my bard can still pick up on after that. So it's really strange to be playing something that looks so much faster, looks way more engaging, but is actually asking a lot less of you. And it's kind of how I feel about action MMOs as a whole. They usually have far fewer actions, but the actual engagement aspect of it can be very hit or miss, and Bard may be just a miss. I shouldn't be surprised. It's Fizz range. I know what Fizz range reputation is in retail. I perpetuate it, and maybe I'm just living it again, and I really need to experience something else. So that's something I'll have to keep in mind as I'm going through the game after I get my first job to 50, and then start exploring the other jobs, because I definitely want to check out the leveling pace of alternate jobs to see if, you know, the monetization ends up mattering more there, because there are things like EXP boosts that are available. And you actually do earn them as you actually play through the game on the initial playthrough. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff I still need to explore. But gameplay wise, I'm not too impressed at this point, I'll say. There's also a dodge roll that goes into a short sprint, which a lot of people think is really cool, and it means that, oh, you know, maybe it's because the game will be more actiony, you know, again, kind of like what the rest of the actions tell you. But this seems to be mostly for individual job flavor. All the different jobs have a different, like, dodging animation, which is really neat. But it's not useful in any capacity. There's no content that's made around it. The game's pacing doesn't even benefit it. Like, when I'm doing Ifrit, which was the most engaging fight up until Titan, I basically just don't move like 80 to 90% of the time, because I know the fight. So I know, oh, the outer plumes are going to be first, then it's going to be eruptions, then it's going to be the inner plumes, then it's going to be eruptions. And for eruptions, I can just move to the left or the right. Like, I could use it to dodge the eruptions, but I have like 3 spare seconds outside of the eruption, and I don't think it's going to be that much faster even at the higher levels. It's just going to be about the patterns at which you actually drop them. So maybe later on, but right now the dodge roll, I almost never press it, and even if I do, it's just because why not, I guess. Speaking of the eruptions on Ifrit, animations line up with cast bars now. This was a big thing that we actually noticed when we were going through footage some months ago. So the way that it works in retail is the cast bar goes off, the AoE appears on the ground, and then the AoE disappears, and then the boss does the animation after the cast bar is done. Here, the boss's animation concludes with the end of the cast bar, so when the AoE on the ground disappears is when you're going to be hit. You're not going to have that weirdness with retail where, you know, the AoE on the ground disappears, but then the boss animation takes another second or two, so you kind of die like way out of where the AoE actually was. Functionally, they're still exactly the same. The difference being that you just will die right away instead of a second or two later. So yeah, there's no snapshotting, but still don't be in the AoE. And then for systems, honestly, I could break down every individual system. I'm just going to highlight a few basic things that I think are more important. Fates are as they usually are, but they have bicolored gemstones and individual completion tracks now, something I kind of like for encouraging people to get back into the open world or to give them a more thorough engagement on secondary jobs. Like maybe you don't really worry about those on your first job because you're leveling through the story, and quite frankly, I'm like 15 levels. I was like, and not 15, I'm like 11 levels ahead of the MSQ, or I was at one point. I think now it's finally starting to catch up to me. So I don't really need the bonus EXP from doing all the fates. But for like a second job, when you think, oh, well, what do I want to do the level? Having those extra objectives on the fates could be a little bit more engaging, or at least I think they'll be. But I don't really know what the rewards actually are. So basically, you're given some light bonuses for completing micro objectives for every fate, like defeating a certain number of enemies, or, you know, beating a high risk version, which is like a bonus version. But honestly, I barely noticed a difference. In like under 180 seconds, or, you know, deal at least 4,000 damage to the boss of this fate or something like that. These completion tracks give you bonuses when you complete all of them. I don't know what the bonuses are because I haven't fully completed them. But it's kind of nice to have. Again, on my secondary jobs, I'll focus more on getting these things done. There's probably achievements that are locked behind it that I don't even notice as well. And since achievements come with rewards and have their own thing, it's probably worth doing. Oh yeah, achievements have completion tracks too. Not quite like this, but just like as you earn enough achievement points, you get bonuses. Whether that be the achievement tokens or even things like dyes or some other reward that comes from it. I haven't looked through the entire track, but it's nice to get a few extra bonuses along the way. And you do get those tokens to spend at Jonathan. He's got a few glam items, nothing too major. Some earrings, like a Titan or an Ifrit mask, but yeah, just a handful of fun things. System-wise, though, while I could... Every system that's in A Realm Reborn's there. I've even gone through videos of me talking about all the individual systems, and now I've actually experienced the way the menus work. So being mobile, everything you do takes you to a separate menu. This means they occupy the entire screen. You will not actually be multitasking pretty much ever, outside of maybe auto-walking to an objective and then taking that time to go through a menu, because your character will still keep walking. Heck, Fates, actually, if you leave the area or you're not available to accept fate rewards, it will actually mail you the fate reward, which is a nice little thing to have. So you could like start a fate, realize, oh, I need to go someplace else, and then when the fate finishes, you'll still get the rewards. It'll be mailed to you. But it even mails it to you if you're in like a menu when the fate completes, because like the menu just closes the entire screen of the game, so it just doesn't register that you're even like you're even physically there. It's really strange. It's nice because they take up the entire screen, they can give like flashy animations and make them look a little bit more modern, but you can't multitask at all. You can't like pop a window open as you're doing something and check something, and then, you know, still be seeing what's in your surroundings. I really like being able to do that in retail, so I prefer the smaller menus, even if they don't look as modern or flashy. But the animations and the effects are nice. It'll wow you a couple of times, and as long as you don't actually mind the kind of separation, it may seem like an improvement to you. But it's a matter of whether or not it's... Honestly, the thing is, in retail, in reality, if the server load isn't too bad, they probably could do something like that. But they probably won't. It's probably not a high, you know, percentage of usefulness in terms of developing for the game. But it does give the player a little bit of extra excitement when doing really, really basic things, like just going through your menu to find the vendors, or going through your menus to find, you know, treasure maps, or to queue into the duty finder or whatever. And speaking of which, most everything is pretty much accessible right through the menus. For convenience, that's nice, but there's very little reason to actually move around in-game to get specific things other than quests or, like, gathering done. So only the actual kind of, like, gameplay allows you to, or encourages you even, to move throughout the world. But, yeah, you never have to, like, go to a specific vendor to buy an item, or, you know, go to... You just do it all from the menu. You don't need to go to Mordona to spend your tomestones. You don't need to go to Limsalo Minsa to go to the dye monger or something. Anything that's going to be available from a vendor is going to be available in your menu. So, while there are some systems that kind of encourage you to get out into the world a little bit more, at least for more objectives like the Fate stuff, there's also things like this that kind of give you a better reason to just sit in town when you're waiting for things to get done. So a little push and pull, I suppose, when it comes to the pros and cons of the menus and the way the game is actually structured between the gameplay and the menus. But overall, I mean, it's a fine experience, right? It's nothing that's gonna like make or break anything for me. There's some really nice quality of life throughout some of the various features that we, of course, have talked about. The 16 die channels on equipment. Not that it matters to my colorblind ass, but it does matter to a lot of people, even though I think even if I could see colors, 16 different dieable channels is way too much customization for me personally. That's sensory overload. But I can't see colors, so it doesn't matter. Can't see them well at the very least. But there's things like that. Your inventory is like all one block instead of it being like armory chest and individual inventory. And then you have to expand your inventory. You can do that through the battle pass. You can actually pay to do it. You can get it through events. And speaking of events, there was an event that did something I really liked. So the Tencent mascot is a penguin. And because Tencent owns Lightstream, the company that's actually developing Final Fantasy XIV Mobile, the first unique event is penguins. Like there's 2 different penguin mounts, a penguin minion, a penguin outfit, bunch of stuff, some emotes, etc., etc. And one of the event pieces is that whenever you complete any dungeon in the game, there is a chance that a fat penguin mount will drop that everyone can roll for. We've only ever had one dungeon drop a mount in all of Final Fantasy XIV, and it was something they added after the release of Stormblood. Like, I think it was on 4.1, they added the Magitech Reaper to the Alamigo dungeon. And I've said it's a wasted opportunity that they don't do this more. Now, doing it as part of an event and it's random, obviously some of you are going to notice there's a problem with that, because that means that you could spam dungeons to the end. It means you could make a 4-person static and farm it out, to be fair. That's something you could do for an event. And I actually would be okay with doing that. But for some people, that's going to be maybe the idea of it's a little bit more frustrating. I personally love that kind of idea. I love anything that adds value to stuff that's already there. So if you're doing your roulettes, for example, and every day you do your roulettes and you may see a mount or 2 as you're doing them, to me, that's added value to content that's already in the game, to something that you would already be doing, or maybe you wouldn't be doing, but now you're kind of like, oh, well, I guess I could also do my roulettes because I've been meaning to spend my poetics on this. Like, again, it adds a layer to it. It's very similar to how I feel about wanting relic objectives, optional relic objectives back, where there's reasons to do a lot of the old stuff that if you really want to try hard, you can focus more on those things now. And then you can reap the benefits of their other rewards for yourself later. It's not exactly the same, but it does kind of tick that same box. And I think they should be utilizing dungeons to distribute loot more frequently in retail as well. So that event was a really nice thing. I got it on my very first dungeon as well. I rolled a 68 and won, so I'll take it. And yeah, it's not all too rare either. It's not like a 1% drop rate. It's like a 20%, maybe even higher, honestly. Of a drop rate, because I've seen quite a few of them in the dungeons I've done, and I haven't done that many dungeons yet, but I haven't seen them 100% of the time, that's for certain. And yeah, there's just a whole lot of other little quality of life. Again, I've gone over them before, so I don't want to spend any more time doing it in this video, but at the very least, this is a fine time. You know, I haven't really done anything or felt the need to like go to the cash shop. Like, I'm not like, oh, you know, I wonder if there's something that would help me. And that's kind of nice, because it means the only reasons I would go there are for things like a Fantasia or a specific outfit, or, you know, again, there's a battle pass that does have like a bunch of cosmetics and stuff, some EXP boosts, which EXP boosts have seemed absolutely useless to me up to this point. So, you know, if you really want to boost the EXP, you know, go right ahead. But honestly, I don't see the value in it right now. And that's that's a double-edged sword. I don't see the value in all those things. Doesn't mean other people won't. But at the end of the day, it's a free-to-play mobile game, and it does have to make money in order to actually continue to exist. It seemed like they had some ideas that they pulled back on because of community feedback, and it seems like more often than not, they'll just be trying to make their money on cosmetics and the battle pass, and whatever they put in the battle pass is going to largely define that. Because there's just nothing that really screams, hey, spend money on me right now. Not unless you're someone who just can't help yourself with buying outfits and Fantasias and stuff like that. So that's great for the consumer. It's not great for the company. And so you always wonder if that's going to change. There's always the fear that it's going to flip the other way at some point, because how can they make enough money doing this? And honestly, though, knowing what I know about Fantasias, some of y'all I spend way too much on Fantasias, and if they can just tap into that market here, they'll probably be fine. They'll probably be fine, if you catch my drift. They're also going to be working on a lot more unique outfits. You'll probably see more unique mounts in the mobile version from what we have in retail, which hopefully they get pulled into retail at some point, in order to encourage people to really go out of their way and spend money on the game. So if they put in the work, then, you know, so be it. It's free to play. You expect to pay for some of the really cool outfits and earn some basic stuff from the game itself. But yeah, and I don't need to go into things like the glamour system again and all that. I've been through it. I've been through all the systems in all of my videos at this point. So I'd say that covers my first impressions on Final Fantasy XIV Mobile. I will be playing, of course, the Western beta as well whenever it comes around, but for now, I'm going to enjoy my time on the Chinese servers. Again, I've really enjoyed interacting with those of you all the way from China who have been very welcoming to me. I didn't expect it. I thought I was just going to kind of coast on by and no one was going to say anything, but I got tons of friend requests and tons of people sending me really nice messages. So I appreciate it. I always enjoy connecting with more parts of the community. It's something I'm not very good at. I'm not very good at socializing. So don't feel bad if I struggle to come up with any sort of interesting, you know, dialogue back and forth. It's just not a strong point of mine, but I appreciate it all the same. So with that, thanks everyone for watching this video. If you've been playing or you've been watching other people play, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section of the video below. Be sure to like and subscribe and stay tuned. I will be doing videos on some of the updated content in 14 Mobile because there are quite a few differences when it comes to some of the dungeon and raid design. Some things we've read about, some things we've seen from previews. We know that First Coil is way different design-wise in terms of the way the bosses are made. Not like terribly hard, but way different all the same. So definitely looking forward to covering that and continuing to cover 14 retail as well. We do have another patch coming up in August. We'll have another live letter in July. So we'll have plenty of stuff to talk about across all facets of Final Fantasy XIV. Until those next videos, thanks for watching and take care.